I am Tara Bentley, and I'm the Executive Director for the Indiana Association of Home Educators, otherwise known as the IAHE.
Hi, I'm Cindy Briggs. I'm a homeschool mom and a volunteer with IAHE.
We're here bringing you this podcast to share with you a lot of great information about homeschooling here in Indiana. This will be a place to learn about homeschooling, find the support you need, all in the Hoosier State.
Each week, we're going to focus on a different topic in the homeschool world. We'll bring you special guests and information that's going to help you on your homeschool journey. So let's get started.
Hi, everyone. This is Tara. Welcome back. We're excited about today's podcast. And again, I'm here with Cindy today and looking forward to today's conversation.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone, it's Cindy. And yeah, just glad to be back. Glad to be chatting with Tara. We haven't chatted in a couple of days, which is,
I know it's funny. We talk a lot, so that's fun.
So it's good to see you.
So today we're going to share some information with everybody about homeschool state organizations. And I don't know about you, Cindy. I think I do know, though. But when I first started homeschooling, I didn't even know these were really a thing or what they did. And I think most homeschoolers, especially when you get started, they're in the same boat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't even know. I think I homeschooled for over a year before I knew there was a state organization out there. Like, you Google homeschool and you get a million things, but yeah, I wasn't aware, I guess.
Well, when I started in 2001, I probably actually was more aware because it was more unique as a source of information. Everybody wasn't on the internet, speakers and social media and all these things. So my state, when I first found the IAHE, it was the only source of good information in our state. So if you homeschooled back in the day, you probably were more aware, but you weren't as aware of all the things that they do.
Right. And then, yeah, I know when I found the website and just was like, oh, all this great information. And, I just kept coming back to it, and then was a member for a year before I jumped in and became a volunteer. But still, it was like, it's such a great place. I mean, now I can't imagine like my homeschooling journey without it.
Right. And there is a wealth of information out there. And I know for people it's so easy because information is at our fingertips. It's so easy to find information. But the fact is, in today's world, you have to be more discerning and you have to know where you're getting your information and if it's accurate or not.
Exactly. Which is why we decided to speak to Nancy Manos this week. And you know Nancy. Like, I got to interview Nancy, but you know Nancy. So
I do. So we've kind of referenced this before. So as a state organization, we don't stand alone. We network with other state leaders from across the country and beyond. And so once I joined the board of directors here in Indiana with the IAHE, I've had the blessing to attend these national conferences where we get to talk with other state leaders, get to know them, get to know, how are they serving their people in their state? What are they watching legislatively? Who are the best speakers? How do you hold a Capitol Day? All of these things, best practices. And so at my second conference, I'd heard Nancy speak on different things, and I just decided that she and I were a lot alike, and I was going to claim her as a friend, and we've been fast friends ever since. But it's really good because I would always jokingly refer to her as the IAHE's West Coast employee. Now, because we help each other out a lot, and that's one of the things that's great about being in state leadership. You get to chat with others, learn what's working, and not try to recreate the wheel all the time.
I want to know more about claiming as a friend. Like, you just claimed it. You just said
I just claimed it. We were on a bus headed to dinner, and no one was sitting next to her. I thought, well, that's silly, so I'm just going to take that seat. I'm a claimer.
Now you're my friend.
Now you're my friend. So I'm really excited to listen to the conversation that you guys had. She lives in Arizona still, and we both work with a lot of great state leaders. And your conversation, I know, is full of a wealth of information about what state organizations do.
It is. So we're going to just jump in and talk to Nancy and hear why you should join, how you can find information about your state organization. So let's go ahead and just jump into that interview. Hey everyone. So I am here today. I'm so excited. You heard Tara and I talking about the fact that I get to interview Nancy Manos, and I got to meet Nancy last year and I was so excited, and we've worked on a couple of things together since then. But Nancy just brings so much experience to the homeschool world, and we are just thrilled to have her. So welcome, Nancy.
Thanks so much, Cindy.
We're just, it's always exciting. And I've said this on other episodes before, but when we get to talk to people who have been in this homeschool world for a while and have navigated so many things, I still feel like such a newbie at 4 years, and I'm constantly learning from all of these people who have gone before us. And so, Nancy, why don't you tell everybody just about your homeschooling journey, how you got started, your kids, give us a little background.
Awesome. Well, we have two daughters that we homeschooled from preschool through high school. We got started because there was a family at church that had two boys that were a little older than our girls. And there was something special about this family. And we were like, what is it? The kids were really respectful. That you could tell the family was super close. They liked being together. And the boys would say, like, how are you today, Mrs. Manos? And I thought it was so weird that like little kids would talk to me, because most young children are like, I'm not talking to adults or whatever.
Right.
And there was just something. So we were drawn to it because of this family that we met. And then as we were just thinking about, our girls were like 1 and 3 at the time. We were thinking about, what do we want to do with our education? And we felt like we're accountable to God for how we raise our children, and how much easier it would be if they were with us all day long than if they're in someone else's care and we get a few hours at the end of the day. And so that was kind of the beginning of our journey. But we just found it to be such an amazing, rich, rewarding experience. It doesn't take a lot of time to do the schoolwork.
Right.
And so there was tons of time for, piano lessons and horseback riding lessons and dance classes and things that the girls were interested in. And so even into their high school years, they just had so many opportunities because we homeschooled.
Oh, and it is. It's so great to kind of watch. You and I have talked about my son, but watch their passions and be able to sort of chase those. It's
Right.
just so cool to get to do that. And you don't have to be so structured as somebody telling you, this is going to happen on this day or this
Right.
day. So,
Yeah.
which was just really fun. And so you did the whole thing. You went from
Yeah.
all the way through. They never saw the
It's
end.
ultimate custom education.
I love it. And
Yeah,
I
we went
love
all the way through high school. So great. I loved the teen years too. A lot of people will say, well, we'll homeschool till 6th grade
right.
or, 8th grade or
8th
something,
grade,
and then we'll put
right.
them in school. And I think, gosh, you did all the hard work of teaching them to read and, all the things. And the teen years to me were the most fun because they become really deep thinkers, and you can just have conversations that are so rich, and their interests are so fascinating, and they have time. I loved homeschooling the teen years because they could sleep in, they could get the right amount of rest, and they had time for all these enrichment things, and they didn't have hours of homework at night and things like that. So it just ended up being really great.
That is so cool. And I love that you said like you saw another family and just went, yeah, like we did the same thing. It was like, I want my children to be like that, to talk to adults. And, I think we see that out of our homeschool children a lot more, is that they can have conversations with anyone.
Yeah.
Like literally anyone sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things that you do, Nancy, and I mean, you've been so involved, just kind of not only homeschooling your children, but then now moving up more into the helping people in the homeschool world. I mean, you have lots of different things that you handle, I guess, so to speak. So why don't you share with us more? Because really what we want to talk to today is about that idea of, why should I join like a state organization? I can just homeschool on my own. Why is that important? So share with us kind of what you've done in that area.
Sure. My husband James and I were invited to serve on the board of directors for the Arizona Homeschool Organization, which is Arizona Families for Home Education. They have been the statewide nonprofit Christian organization here in Arizona, serving all Arizona homeschoolers since 1983. And so we were invited to be on the board in 2004. We served together for 13 years, and then I was hired as the executive director. And I worked in that role for 3.5 years before I retired to do some other things. But what I love about state homeschool organizations is when people hear the word state homeschool organization, they think it's part of the government. It's not.
No.
They're independent grassroots organizations run by volunteers primarily. And sometimes people think, oh, it's a corporate, like you've got all this money. Nope. We're also usually operating on a shoestring budget,
Right.
and from donations and membership fees and things like that. But the statewide homeschool organization is doing a lot of things behind the scenes that you might never see, but that make a huge difference in your freedom to homeschool.
Yeah.
So every state homeschool organization has most of them are volunteer lobbyists, somebody at the state capitol that's building relationships with legislators, watching bills that might impact homeschool freedom. And I think in every state, there's some variation of, like in Arizona, they're called striker bills. And I know they have different names in different states, but where a legislator can strike something in an existing bill that's being reviewed and add language for something totally unrelated. And so having an organization that has volunteers that are reading every bill, paying attention for those last minute things that pop up, is really important because, homeschooling, if you're homeschooling today, it feels very free, and it is, but it wasn't always so. It took about 25 years of hard work on the behalf of state homeschool organizations and an organization like HSLDA to make sure that every state was legal to homeschool and free as possible. And so, those were hard fought battles to make sure that parents had the right to teach their children at home. And we want to protect that. And so when things feel very free, there's no threats. Nobody's threatening my freedom to teach my kids. We can get a little lax.
Absolutely.
And, the threats, that's when we're most at risk, I think.
Yeah, no, and I didn't mean to even stop you there, but it's so true.
Yeah.
And we're recording this. We always tell this in our podcast. We're recording this in 2024. So if you find this later, but we're recording this in March of 2024, and even in Indiana, our bills are still happening right now, and our legislative team, which is all volunteer, is all doing exactly what you said. And you don't know that those things are going on the back end, but there's almost these little like missile strikes almost, if you want to think about it, that come in really fast because people will stick something in. It'll be a bill completely different, and they'll say something about, okay, and children being educated at home need to have this, and it's completely off the wall.
Right.
And
yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of times your state homeschool organization has thwarted a threat, and they're never going to say anything about it. Like we're probably our worst PR advocates. Like we don't really share a lot of what we've accomplished, which makes, the average homeschool parent doesn't realize that probably 10 times during a legislative session, something positive has happened or something negative has been averted. And so we're good at telling the wins when we've made a positive change, but not usually. It's behind the scenes. It's a conversation with the legislator. Hey, this is going to hurt homeschoolers, and they'll just kill a bill because we have a relationship or something. So there's a lot going on, and it's really important. But the legislative work, while I think it's one of the most important, isn't the only thing that state organizations do. Almost all host some kind of homeschool convention or conference, which the IAHE conference is coming up.
It's coming up in a couple weeks. Yes.
Oh gosh, so fast. There is nothing like, you can watch a webinar, you can listen to speakers, you can shop online, but I'm telling you, there's nothing like being together in person with hundreds or thousands of other families. And, when you're sitting in a workshop next to another mom and you're waiting for the speaker to talk, just to be able to chat, like, I've been amazed over the years, the number of times that God has shown up through just somebody you're either sitting next to or standing at line to pay for your curriculum that you're buying or whatever. And God will speak through them to you or to them through you, and it's so amazing. But there's, it's just like kind of the difference of church online versus being
Right.
together. There's an energy, there's camaraderie, you get the sense you're not alone.
Right.
And there's just strength, I think, in knowing we're part of this amazing community of families.
Because I think even if you're in a co-op and you do all the things, I know I have felt
Yeah.
there will be a morning when we're, in math or doing something, and you just have this all of a sudden feeling of I'm by myself, like I'm alone. But
Yeah.
then you stop and you go, I'm not. I'm not. There are people, and you make connections, and I think friendships that can go for years
Oh, yeah.
based on these.
Yes,
So state
definitely.
organizations, yeah, we're doing the legislative, we're doing conventions. What are other things that they're doing?
Many are publishing a magazine, whether it's a digital magazine or print magazine, with encouraging articles. The big thing, I think, is just being available to answer questions. Your statewide homeschool organization is the most reliable source of information about homeschool laws in your state. It's amazing to me how sometimes even legislators or people at the state capitol are not familiar with homeschool laws. And so, these organizations are the statewide homeschool organizations. We are watching this, like we help craft the law in many states. And then also we're watching to protect it. And so we know the language, we know what's permitted and what's not. We know where there's areas where we need to be on the lookout. And so if you want to know what's required of you to homeschool in your state, your statewide homeschool organization is going to be the best source of information. So it's accurate, and you're getting, plus they will answer your questions. Some of my favorite things that I got to do when I served with IAHE is what we called it, Arizona Families for Home Education. We was when a mom would call in and go, hey, I'm struggling, or I have this question. And sometimes it would take 30 or 45 minutes of my day, but I'm telling you, I I may have had a long to-do list, but to get off the phone and know that the mom ended the call by saying, I can do this. It's so neat to have volunteers who are there that will encourage you, that will point you in the right direction if you need help in an area. Maybe you are homeschooling high school. How do I create a transcript? Or you have a child with special needs. Where do I get support and resources? And so there you'll just find encouragement.
All the
And then a
things.
ton of other resources. The websites have blogs and,
Just
all sorts of
everything.
things. Yeah.
And I think we're at a point, it's funny that you talked about, our freedoms now, because a couple episodes ago, we spoke with Zan Tyler, who was threatened with arrest for homeschooling her
Yeah.
children in South Carolina and had to fight for that right. So then we go from that to where now we have freedom, but
Mhm.
also I think there's the negative sometimes I think is there's so much information, like you
Yes.
Google and all of a sudden there's all of this and you don't know what is true or valid. You don't know. I know I'm even a part of a lot of different curriculum groups online, but people are from all different states. And sometimes I jump in and I'm like, make sure you check your state, because they'll start talking legal things and every state is different.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And
It's
so
amazing.
yeah, it does. It makes it you just are like, okay, now we can go find all of this information. But so you're also part of something else though, that if people are listening, we always say this on the podcast too. We know that we are geared towards our Indiana listeners because we're IAHE, but we know people may find us just because of homeschool and you're listening, you're like, okay, I don't live in Indiana. This is great information. And I heard Nancy's from Arizona. But what else can people do if like this is the first they've heard? Where can they go to find out more information?
Yeah, so I've been a part of this national organization. It's called the National Alliance of Christian Home Education Leadership. And really, it's a network of Christian state organizations like AFI and IAHE and others across the country. And it helps us, we get to connect with one another and learn from each other so we can serve better. And so one of the outreaches of the Alliance is Homeschool Freedom. And so if you go to homeschoolfreedom.com, there is a map of the country. And so you can find your state organization there. We have an events calendar. So, conventions and homeschool day at the Capitol and, homeschool retreats and whatever is coming up, we try to list all of those. And we're getting more and more every day. And so it's a great resource. The purpose or goal of that is to point you back, help you connect with your state organization. And so there's some great information on there. But I love the Homeschool Freedom outreach that Tara Bentley from IAHE started. And I love to get to serve with her. She makes the joke that I'm IAHE West Coast office.
You're our West Coast chapter.
Yeah,
We love it. But it's a great resource, because I know when you are starting to look and, you may have found this podcast and you just don't know those next steps. So, go to home, and we put everything in the show notes. So you will see the link for Homeschool Freedom also, but you can click on that, go to your state, it'll get you to your state organization. And then those are your first steps, kind of like reach out to them. I mean, every state organization is going to have someone you can reach out to, whether it's, a director or regional reps like we have. There's going to be somebody there. And the other cool thing, and I only bring this up because I worked with you on this, but that Homeschool Freedom does, which in the fall, you got
National Homeschool Day of Prayer. So
yes.
this will be our 7th or 8th year now. I've lost track. It's the first Friday in November, National Homeschool Day of Prayer. It's an online event, so you can pray from home, get together with your friends. We have Cindy helped last year, and it was so fun to work together on this. Leaders from across the country will go live and pray throughout the day. We have hourly prayer prompts, and it's just a good reminder that, our freedom really comes from the Lord.
Yes.
And it's protected in the Constitution, but it's ours to defend and protect. But just, it's a gift, it's an honor, it's a privilege to teach our children at home. And so it's a day dedicated to praying for homeschool freedom, praying for our elected officials, praying for families. And it's just a really sweet opportunity to connect around prayer.
Well, it's so fun to be thinking. I know that day that I was working with you on that, it's just so fun to think people all over the country are praying right now. And you can just kind of feel that power of, this is important to us. And, you may think, well, why do I care what happens in Arizona or California or whatever? We are a team. I mean, we truly are, to make homeschooling continue to be free, and just to keep directing it back to the Lord. I think I know one of the talks I'm giving at our conference is that kind of developing your why on homeschooling, like coming up with your why. And part of me has been struggling because I'm like, well, our main why should probably be directing them back, being God focused and being God centered, and then kind of having spokes out of that. So
Right. Yeah.
I think it's great. And just all the opportunities that you've kind of put out there for people. I just love, because your children, I mean, they're grown. You're not still homeschooling little ones at home anymore. And
Nope.
and I think that's even what's fun, is when you see people who you could easily say, oh, you know what? I got my kiddo through 12th grade. I'm out, like, done. I'm going to go get my, my massages every day. But
they do that? Wait.
I know, I think people do that.
I'm missing out.
I don't know. I'm still homeschooling. I don't get to do it. But yeah, to see, and we have great leaders in Indiana, I'm sure you do in Arizona, who have connected and stayed in this homeschool environment just because they believe in it. Just because it's like, we're not going to step out of this now just because we're done. We're going to do this for the next generation.
Oh, definitely. Well, and I have grandchildren who are being homeschooled.
Yeah.
And I want homeschooling to stay free for my daughter and her family, and for my grandsons and their families one day.
Yeah.
And so it's really important. And for me, I have all these years of experience between homeschooling and serving in homeschool leadership. And I know God's not done with me. So if I can be an encouragement to another parent, so that they know I can do this on those hard days where you're like, is the bus going to come by?
I know, where are they going to come take them?
You can do it. And it's worth the sacrifice. It's worth every bit of investment that you make into your kids. And it's worth fighting to protect homeschool freedom.
And we like to say a lot too when we're talking on the podcast is we are in no way trying to make it out like every day is going to be perfect
Oh
because
gosh, no.
oh, it's really not. Like it's really, I mean, you are not a bad homeschool parent if you have that thought every week of, oh my gosh, where's the local school? I mean, it really is. It's not an easy road, but I think if we go back to the Bible, I think we weren't promised easy. You know, we weren't promised it was going to be easy, but we're promised that God's going to be with us and we're going to fight through the hard, and which is so
Yeah.
important.
It's so rewarding. You know,
Yeah.
my daughter is 32 now, and she's one of my closest friends. And I love these grand boys. And it's amazing to get to this season where my kids have been graduated a long time, but I get to see the fruit of all those years of building relationship and pouring in and making sure that they love the Lord. They knew the Lord, you
Yeah.
know, and they know that God loves them and he's faithful and he's good. And so it's neat to be, it was fun to homeschool. Like I'm having a blast when the kids come to visit and I get to do science experiments and things
You get to
again.
do it again.
I miss all those days, but just it's so rewarding.
So if you're like me out there and you still have one, you know, that's younger, listen to the people who say, like, listen to the outcomes of all of this. It is fun. I mean, now I can't imagine a different path. I just, yeah, can't even imagine it. So Nancy, one of the things I love to ask everybody as we're just kind of wrapping up our conversation is like, if you could give your one best piece of advice on anything when it comes to homeschooling, what would it be?
Enjoy your kids.
Mm,
Let them know that you not only do you love them, you like them. That's a Steve Demi quote. He likes to
yes.
say that, and I have taken that to heart. Um, we have the days are short. It doesn't feel okay. That's not true. The days can be
Start
long,
long. The
but
years
the
are short.
years go
Yeah.
fast. But the time that we have with our kids is
Hmm.
gone in an instant. Even
Yeah.
though there's days you wish you could blink real fast and the days would
Yes.
go quicker, but there you have an opportunity. It can be messy and frustrating and overwhelming, and you could be tired. And I mean, homeschooling isn't the only thing that we do, right? We have to cook, we have laundry, we many times we have jobs, we have church
Hmm.
responsibilities, we have a lot going on. But I don't want my kids, you know, I was so glad I got a hold of this truth. I didn't want them to grow up feeling like they were a nuisance or an inconvenience
Yes.
or a task.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed them. I'm not saying I was perfect. There are times that's probably the thing why this is important to me is I have regrets. I
Mm.
have times where I was impatient or, you know, didn't enjoy their presence for a day or something. And I wish I could go back. I wish I could change some of the words I said, the frustration. And I'm seeing it now with my grandkids. Like there is a gift, an opportunity just to enjoy them for the gift that they are from God. Um,
Absolutely. I love that. And when did it become like I was thinking about that, and this is a silly thing, but over Christmas, the Christmas song that says "Mom and Dad can't wait for school to start again," that one was really bothering me this year
yeah,
because I was like, our kids hear that. Like our kids hear us saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait till they're back in school. I can't wait." And yeah, and I'm like, am I the weird one? Because no, I want to hang with them. I
no,
think it's so
yes.
fun. And yeah, so I love that. So enjoy your kids.
Just
Enjoy,
enjoy your kids.
just enjoy
It's a
them.
gift. You know, my message is joy is a gift to strengthen us. And
Uh,
joy is not for those happy sunshine, everything's perfect days. God
yeah,
has given us joy as a gift to strengthen us on the challenging days. And so
yeah,
we can look for joy and we can enjoy our kids. So that's I don't know. I love that. And it's
uh,
all about relationships. Really, the enjoy your kids message is a
yeah,
relationship message because when homeschooling is over, you still have your marriage and you still have your relationship with your children and you want it to be a good one. So,
right. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, Nancy, I just so appreciate you taking time today to just talk to us about this and share with us your journey and your message of, again, look for that state organization to help you
yep,
and be enjoying your kids while you're doing this, that this is a gift, that we are so blessed to have the opportunity to do this. So again, thanks for just taking the time. So appreciate it. And we look forward
absolutely.
to, we'll have to have you back again.
Well, thanks for having me. Praying blessings on all that you're doing there in Indiana. I love your organization and your whole team is amazing.
Well, thank you. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much again for listening, and we will see you back here at Homeschool Indiana podcast. Have a blessed day.